Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, wherever you're listening to us at, and whatever time zone you're in.
And if I don't
We're
see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
we're there's Muckrakers. I'm Peter,
And I'm Pat.
and we are the shouty radio people, the angry libtard George Soros paid cucks. I don't.
Coming to you live from the basement of the deep state in our white privilege bunkers.
Yeah, man, that was the most disappointing civil war I've ever had. I don't know if you know this, but Alex Jones declared he had secret information that the liberals were going to launch a civil war on July 4th.
I did hear about it, and there's some amazing memes that came out. It's like, well, what do you mean our civil war's on July 4th? We're already spread thin from our war on Christmas.
I saw a lot of people like, my dearest Esmeralda, the mint juleps are running thin. I feel that we have cornered General Ted Nugent in the KFC. Like, just a bunch of dumb shit. Like, yeah.
For once, the replies to an Alex Jones tweet was amazing. If you go to the tweet where he talks about it, it's just a wonderful reading experience to just scroll down and see all the responses to it.
I want to know what happened. I want to know his reasoning for why the Civil War didn't happen.
Oh, what his explanation for why? Maybe he's probably going to say, well, I tipped you all off, and that's why it didn't happen, because they knew it was coming. Or you real patriots knew it was coming, so they knew better than to attack then. They probably just pushed it back. My first thought was, he's doing it wrong. He should have said that the liberal civil war was sometime like 5 years from now or 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Just like people who do end of the world conspiracy theories work, right? You never say it's going to be like next week. You have to say it's some impossibly far distance into the future. And that way, you can actually have people believing it for a long time. And over time, more and more people hear about it and believe it and get on board and send you money. And then by the time that date rolls around, it's so far into the future that you've already packed your bags and gone to live in your new house in Bermuda.
Well, I pulled
but
it up.
Alex Jones was just like, oh no, it's 2 days from now.
Well, he argued that it was more of a demarcation line and argued that the exact date of the first Civil War starting was debated. No, it's not debated. The first Civil War started, I don't remember the exact date, but I know it's the date that
it's debated. He's right.
No, it's the date the South fired on Fort Sumter. There is an actual date, like Civil War began officially, because officially armies were shooting at each other.
I'm pretty sure I've been to Fort Sumter.
I mean, that's very possible. Like, it was
Sounds very familiar.
Let's see, April 12th, 1861. Yeah, it's not debated. That's when it started. Now, it's debated when it ended because there were places like in Texas where, like, the slaves were still working as slaves, and they're like, oh, hey, boss, what happened to that Civil War? They ever end that? We free? We did like, no, you're still slaves. So, like, they just didn't tell the slaves they were free, and it took, like, a year after this. All right, so the land of the west of the Mississippi we had driven the Native Americans to, right?
Yeah.
And there were already Native Americans there, so we drove other Native Americans onto the land where people already lived, and we're like, you go here. And then we were like, you know what? I'm going to want that land too. So we took that from them. But, to give you a little history lesson, because I do teach U.S. history, here's what's amazing. So, the United States was divided pretty evenly between free and slave states, right?
Right.
But the problem was, as we were taking more and more Western land and adding it and adding new states, the argument became, is this a free state? Is this a slave state? And those arguments eventually erupted into the Civil War. Texas, very interestingly enough, Texas was a slave state. The reason Texas won its independence from Mexico is because a bunch of Americans moved to Mexico and Texas because it was, they were allowed to live there and it was great. But Mexico, the Mexicans had been treated so badly by the Spanish that as soon as the Mexicans won independence, they were like, man, this slavery thing has got to go. So Mexico outlawed slavery. The slave owners moving into Texas, the area of Texas that was owned by Mexico, were like, we want to keep our slaves. And the Mexicans are like, listen, you can come over here, you can live, but you can't have your slaves. And then all of a sudden, the Texans were like, freedom, remember the Alamo, you can't take my slaves. And so they basically started a war with Mexico and got the United States to back them because they wanted to keep their slaves. So that's why Texas won its independence, because it wanted to keep people enslaved.
So the whole "don't tread on me" thing, very pro-slavery slogan.
Yeah, don't tread on my slaves. Only
Yeah.
I can tread on my slaves.
Oh, I own them. They're my property. They're my land.
So to go back to Alex Jones, not only does he say it was a demarcation line, he goes, I didn't say that it would be rockets and missiles and bombs and total death. I said if you historically want to look at it, I think we're going into a hotter civil war. Not like North versus South. The left is calling for violence. They're engaged in massive censorship.
The right's running people down and running up to crowds with guns this week.
Oh, yeah. Antifa's attacking people over the streets that go out and try to engage in it. He claimed a victory in predicting things first and said the media and other opponents were casting his Civil War claim as a defeat as part of a hoax firestorm.
It's what? I mean, he's full of shit. So, of course, they're saying, well, Alex Jones today said something else that was full of shit. I'm Wolf Blitzer.
Yeah, so basically, he did what all, the apocalypse preachers do, where they go, the world will end tomorrow. They just kind of gently walk it back into metaphor.
When I was saying tomorrow, I meant America!
What I actually meant was the metaphorical apocalypse, the apocalypse of ideas and civility.
I forgot to... go ahead.
It was the Civil War. It was the war on civility.
Yep. So I forgot to actually look up how this ended because the court was supposed to be on Monday. But in Florida, a Florida woman decided to run down a group of people protesting.
Oh my
ICE.
God! I remember you told me about this. Yeah, I didn't get to hear the ending. So yeah, lay it out for me, man. I am excited and horrified to hear what happens.
Oh well, okay. So Florida woman decided to just attack a bunch of protesters by driving her car through them, right?
Yes.
And people are screaming, jump to the side. She successfully hits one person, right?
Well,
Injures the person enough to knock him down.
Side note right there, you really suck just as an instrument of violence if you can aim your car at a crowd of people and only hit one of them.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I'm not saying that that's right to do. That's a horrible thing to do. But I'm just saying if I was going to run over a crowd, I think that I could do some serious damage. I'd get going real fast. I'd see if I can get it up to 60, and maybe there's a slight corner so they won't see me coming. So then it's just bam, car 60 miles an hour, loads of people.
I saw a video earlier this week of a guy in Australia, I think it is, who drives his truck every single day up and down this one road that's covered in frogs, and he's just popping them left, right, and center by weaving back and forth.
Yeah.
Let's be glad this Florida woman doesn't watch the same things I do, or she might have learned, I can steer my car and then hit more people.
To be fair, she's probably like that really dumb kid when you played tag. Remember the one that you could throw them off by if you just ran next to someone else, they would hesitate, and then you could both get away?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's what happened. She's like, I'm going to run over now I'm going to get that. No, he got away.
Yep.
So she hit one person.
And then you would think, that's horrifying. What did the police do? Well, here's the thing. She kind of was the police. So she gets out of her car, arrests the woman that she hits. That way she can vanish the victim from the scene and then lock her up at the police station where the attacker also hides. And then the police just sort of shut out people and say, no comment on what happened. And the injured woman's court date was set for Monday. And so now what we have is a police officer attacks people. She's definitely a Trump supporter because she's upset about the whole ICE.
Well, she
thing
attacked
and
them.
people protesting.
So she's not in a police car. She's off duty, a private citizen, and attacked other people with her car. Then I don't think cops can arrest people off duty, can they?
Well, I mean, citizens arrest. Anyone can arrest anyone at any time.
I don't know. I'm just saying, you hit me with your car. You're like a crazy person. You jump out and you go, I'm a cop. Get in the back. Dude, you're going to have to kill me. There's no way I'm getting in the back. Huh?
She might have been stunned.
I mean,
it was like a kidnapping, basically.
Yeah, I
this
mean,
is Florida.
Either way, if I have any kind of brains or any, I'm not brains, but if I have any consciousness left at all, you're not putting me in the back of your fucking rape Taurus. You know what I mean? That's how the bone collector started. Just get in my car. I'm not getting in your fucking car. Fuck you. Call the real police. I want uniforms.
Yep. So.
So is she still in jail?
That is a good question. Because I've been trying to pull something up on it this whole time, and so far I haven't found
You
anything.
bastard! I like how you're like, oh, guess what? And then she took her to the jail, and then the court date was Monday, and I'm leaning forward. I'm like, what happened? And then you were
I
like,
forgot to follow up on it.
you're like, and
Is what happened.
in true Muckrakers fashion, we are the investigative journalists that forget to do half of our name. Investigate.
Yeah. So I mean,
That's why she's probably dead. She probably do you remember the story of Sandra Bland?
maybe no.
Sandra Bland was almost assuredly murdered by the police. She got pulled over for a routine traffic stop, and then the cops were like, "Oh, you're black. Let's go crazy and beat the shit out of you, right?" It's all on video. They took her to jail. So she's in jail for like a minor traffic stop, and she's going to be bailed out like Monday, and then she
Right.
mysteriously commits suicide over the weekend and hangs herself in her cell. And the cops were like, "I don't know what happened." Like, dude, they fucking killed her. Like, no one commits suicide for a traffic violation, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm just saying, if this lady is like just mysteriously dead in jail, it was the fucking cops.
So, well, back to the protests at large. Many diverse groups like socialites and even juggalos, I don't know, I'm reading an article here, were protesting against ICE. Democrats from the House and Senate attended various marches around the country, including that's Bernie Sanders. The U.S.'s most prominent socialist, Bernie Sanders, had a very different Saturday. Sanders was busy cementing his support with the baby boomers and Lederhosen crowd. Oh, this is weird. I need to send you a picture of this. But yeah, he's just like off doing something else. He is not actually helping the ICE protesters.
So I guess we'll
Okay.
come back to that.
Here's the picture of it. What is Bernie Sanders doing there? What do you think? But we can
do you
make
mean?
this like. Did you not get it? Sounds
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of-
yeah, yeah. I got you. I was like, I didn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You mean like
We
just
could make-
being an old man at a protest?
Yeah,
That's what it looks like he's doing. I like how we're in a completely auditory or audio medium, and we're like, hey, what do you guys think of this picture?
I've been trying to say a few times. I can make this the avatar of the show.
Maybe. So we
So
got
the main picture people see.
So you got Trump protesters like fucking running over people with cars. The guy with the gun was my favorite Trump protester so far.
Did I send you the video of that?
Yeah, I saw that. I watched it. Yeah. It's like a prayer service for like people that are being illegally locked up, and they're like, it's like a church service, and this dude is just walking back and forth with this sign, and he's just going womp 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 womp, and like no one's paying him any attention, which I think is great. I think that's why he gets mad. The video I watched cut off before he pulled a gun.
Really? Because
Yeah.
the one I have starts like after he pulled the gun, and like right before everyone starts running after him, yelling, "He has a gun! That guy has a gun!" Like it was totally the opposite reaction from what he was expecting, because he was trying to be a troll, right? Like he's trying to be an internet troll, but in real life, yelling
Yeah.
"womp womp" and "Ice Ice Baby" was the other thing.
Oh
to
yeah,
yell.
yeah, on Ice Ice
And
Baby.
whenever someone saw he had a gun, like two large guys just start walking at him immediately, pointing to him, like holding their hands up and saying, "This guy has a gun, this guy has a gun," and they're walking towards the guy with the gun. So the guy with the gun like freaks out, puts it away, and starts to try and walk away quickly.
Yeah.
And then police just fan in from every angle. And for once, the police don't, like beat up the protesters, arrest them and vanish them, but they actually stop the crazy guy with the gun.
Yeah, so that's why like I have a hard time, but I don't think we're that close to a civil war. I think our democracy has been hijacked, and I think we have a chance to get it back.
We have a toddler in the White House.
Yeah.
But
And so it would be much more dangerous, I guess, if he were much more clever, as fucked up as he is. But like, there's a lot of really good people, and like a lot of people are like fighting back, and like I feel bad because like I need to get more. What do you call it? I need to get more civically involved. Like we need to go make sure we're registered to vote for all the next local elections.
I am.
because
we need to get involved in those liberal civil wars, which we missed on July 4th.
Because here's the problem: the Civil War. It's not going to look like the original Civil War. It's going to look like, and a lot of people don't remember this. Like in the '60s and '70s, there were just like a ton of like domestic bombings by just different like groups. Like the Weather Underground and all these different like sort of like People's Liberation Army and stuff, and like they were just blowing up, bombing. Like it was just a slew of like it looked like the country's going to tear itself apart. And I think it's going to be more like that. It's not going to be like people trying to secede from the Union. You're just going to see a ton of like of civil unrest. You know what I mean? You're going to see a lot of like civil like domestic terror bombings and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's all because a lot of people just refuse to admit the writings on the wall that President Trump is not a good president. He's not a smart person. Like, I mean, we know, and I was telling you about this earlier, that his lawyers tried to prepare him for his interview with Mueller, and they had the 60 possible questions to run him through, and they set him down, and for 4 hours they tried to grill him on questions to teach him how to respond to Mueller so that he didn't incriminate himself. And in 4 hours they got through 2 of 60 questions. And even then that was shaky. And it's because he wanders, he meanders. He's a senile old man that doesn't really know where he's at. And you can't understand this better than actually watching him speak at his rallies. If you watch it on TV, he looks like a insane rambling old man, because that's what he really is. But like you were saying, that's not what the crowd hears. The crowd is infected by the energy of each other, of one another, because they all are there to believe in something, so they're not even listening to him. He could be reading to them a recipe from a cookbook and they would still be like, yeah, potatoes go in second, woo, America.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he could literally say anything and they cheer for him because they're so. That's the way he does his rallies. Like he gets them all fired up. I mean, that's how rallies work. That's why they're called rallies and not like, I don't know,
thinkies.
Like debates.
Thinkies.
Yeah, or thinkies. Yeah, like so they're called rallies, not thinkies. Because it's like anybody could go to see like. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Like that whole effect. Look like Creed. Like look at people at Creed concerts back when people still went to those.
I don't know what that is.
What Creed is?
Yeah.
The band? You don't remember the band Creed?
I was hoping you were talking about Rocky.
No, I was talking about like the like with arms wide open, like that really crappy band.
Nope.
What? You missed Creed completely?
I think so.
I don't believe you did. Like, I think you're just not remembering it.
Probably.
Anyway, point being, they were a really shitty band like Nickelback, and people still went and like were like, "Woo, this is the best time ever."
But I don't remember if I've ever said this on the podcast before. But people gave George W. Bush a lot of shit for being stupid, right? But here's the thing: I'm pretty sure this was a case of The Boy Who Cried Wolf, because liberals spent way too much time calling George W. Bush stupid when he really wasn't, right? Like, okay, fair enough, for an American president, he was pretty dumb, right?
Yeah.
Put him in a room with all the other presidents, and there might only be like a couple of them that are less intelligent than he is. But put him in any random room on planet Earth, right? Take George W. Bush and just teleport him at random number generator, into any room, no matter how crowded it is, on Earth. Odds are he's probably the most intelligent person in that room, right? Top 2 at least. Now, you may be less intelligent than him and still come to a better conclusion with the knowledge that you have, a more moral conclusion, but he still like knows more shit. He still has thought about stuff more.
Well, it's I talked to my girlfriend.
But then go ahead.
About like I talked to her about this exact same thing, and she goes, yeah, but it's because he went like the thing about Bush being smart. And I was talking about him being smarter than me, was he went, like, he spent all his life being prepped for it. Like, he came from, like, a rich, well-to-do political, and he went to these prep schools.
Yeah, they forged him. They made him what he is.
So he was forged into, like, presidential material. Trump kind of went to prep schools and stuff, but he wasn't He
Well,
wasn't
he's like the son of a billionaire. He's the definition of someone whose daddy's checks just got him through life.
right, but he wasn't forged in the
And
same way like
and
having a.
that's why I was going to say, and that's why my the second half of that is if you take Donald J. Trump and put him in any random room on Earth, any random room, he could even show up in like a third world orphanage, right? He's surrounded by young children who have never even heard of what the internet is. Odds are he's going to be the dumbest person in the room. Odds are he is not going to know half as much as anyone else in there because third world orphans, they know how to tie their fucking shoelaces without falling over and biting their tongues.
Well, I mean,
I bet Trump could not tie his own shoelaces without tripping over his own feet and biting off his tongue.
well, I mean, he's the worst. He's the worst. What do you call it? Mixture of kind of dumb, but also raised rich and pampered. So he doesn't even have like the common sense of just like, hey man, I'm kind of dumb, but I'm a car mechanic.
Right.
And not
right.
saying that
Yeah.
car mechanics are dumb. I'm just saying like people that are like,
At least they know a skill, is what you're saying. He doesn't even know a skill.
yeah, he doesn't know how to go buy his own
He's-
groceries.
He's not useful to society. I mean, he's grown old and senile watching Fox News, so he knows all their talking points. So he goes out and he talks to the Republican voting base, which what do? They spend all their time watching Fox News. So for once, he's the one guy that makes sense to them, because all the other Republicans have always had their stances on things, right? Which is mostly, bought and paid for by big businesses, but at least they're not actively trying to destroy the world. They may be indifferent to whether the world dies, but they're not trying to destroy it.
He's also my.
And then here comes Trump, who just sort of says the crazy shit that comes from Fox News, which Fox News has always had to be crazy to keep their viewers watching. They always had to scare them using the... They've always had to scare them into watching, and so they've always just made up weird shit, and now Trump believes all of it and makes policies based on it. Because he doesn't go to intelligence briefings. He has zero interest in improving is another major problem.
Well,
He doesn't care if he gets it.
Yeah, so my problem is he's dumb, and he's very proud of how dumb he is because he believes that he's like the smartest guy ever. Like he honestly believes that he's a super genius.
Yeah, at one of his rallies, he's like, why do they call the liberals, why do they call the liberals elite, okay? I'm way more elite than they are. I have bigger houses. Oh, I'm so much smarter because I won the election. They didn't win the election. That means I'm super elite, okay? Okay, guys, okay, crowd. That's who we are. We're the super elite.
Well, also, like in his speeches, I know he's like rambling, but I really do worry that like he's like, all right, so I want to read you this excerpt from his rally in Montana.
He rambles, but his rambles always orbit the real idea that he has, and he usually orbits things that he actually wishes to enact. So whenever he floats ideas like, maybe I should just be president for life, you shouldn't think that he's joking, because I've never seen him laugh, I've never seen him smile.
Yeah.
He's not fucking joking. He means it. He wants to be president for
life. Here's where I was like, I'm like, all right, this is like something a dementia patient would say, right?
Yeah.
So this is this is one of his riffs. It says from at one point he went on one of his trusted riffs complaining about no one congratulating him for how big the crowds at his rallies are, and he says they never say I'm a great speaker. He bellowed, pointing at the media attending the rally. Why the hell do so many people come? It's got to be something. I guess they like my policy. And then here is where it gets real weird, and this is where I think he has brain damage. Actually, I'm just going to read this in my normal voice because I think it makes him sound even crazier. And he says, and I quote, I have broken more Elton John records. He seems to have a lot of records. And I, by the way, I don't have a musical instrument. I don't have a guitar or an organ. No organ. Elton has an organ. And lots of other people helping. No, we've broken a lot of records. We've broken virtually every record because, look, I only need this space. They need much more room. For basketball, for hockey, and all of the sports, they need a lot of room. We don't need it. We have people in that space. So we break all of these records. Really, we do it without, the musical instruments. This is the only musical, the mouth. And hopefully the brain attached to the mouth, right? The brain, more important than the mouth, is the brain. The brain is much more important. End quote.
I mean, the sad part is that I understand what he's saying, but
I do too. But the fact that
he's rambling and he's crazy. I mean, oh my God. And people listen to that and think, yeah, or hold on, let me do a deplorable voice. Yeah, no, see, that's a super genius, Cletus. That's why you don't get the good jobs, because you don't speak good like that.
Yeah, this speech is like something straight out of Idiocracy.
Trump put out a tweet this week that said, the liberal lying media is always poring over my tweets looking for spelling errors, but I write books, very good books, and yada yada yada. But whenever he said, they're always poring over my tweets looking, just hunting for spelling errors, he misspelled pouring. He spelled it, or they pour over my tweets P-O-U-R, and it should be P-O-R-E.
You know what's really awful about that?
What's that?
I read that, and I was like, fuck, what version of poor is it?
P-O-R-E.
Yeah, well, clearly the way
version.
everybody was making fun of him, and the fact that J.K. Rowling, famed author, went, poor, ha, 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 140 more characters of ha. But
I didn't read any of the replies to it. I just saw the tweet.
Yeah, it was just J.K. Rowling, the wrong version of poor, and then ha, 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 for like 140 characters or whatever Twitter is now. I don't know, man. I just think that when, like, a children's author is constantly like, you a piece of shit, like, maybe you should look at yourself in the mirror, Like...
I mean, everyone with an IQ higher than their shoe size has been saying that to him this whole time. It's just...
Yeah, but I think that you can take a Harry Potter book, and if you put yourself in the Harry Potter book, would you be fighting Harry Potter?
You're saying that's like a good litmus test for whether you're a good guy or a bad guy?
If you're doing something, and especially if you're like if you're part of the government or you're doing something that could affect a lot of people, stop and go like, man, if what's his name? If Voldemort came in, would he be happy with what I was doing or upset with what I was doing? You know what I mean? And if the answer is Voldemort would be like super psyched, stop doing that thing.
So speaking of having a stupid president, did you know that Howard Stern co-host prank called Trump this week?
Was that Howard Stern's co-host that did that? I heard about that.
Stuttering John. Yeah. He worked on the Howard Stern show for a little while, for a few years.
That's why, like, I kind of want to, like, I know I'm still in grad school, and I know that, like, I've got, like, a career job as an educator, but part of me wishes I could put this on hold and just go down to Washington and try to weasel my way into the White House and then just kind of hang back so that when the regime change happened, I could still have a job in the fucking White House.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
But... yeah. Anyway, he called him and talked to him for like an hour pretending to be a senator, so that was funny. But he did record it, but I don't know how much of the recording he put online. I just remember.
Well, now they're talking about they're talking about trying to bring charges against him or arrest him.
Yeah, because it's actually illegal to impersonate a senator. But I mean, that just shows how shitty our security is and how stupid our president is that this could even happen. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Like, what other president would have an hour's worth of time to talk to anyone?
No one ever. Like, the president's time is the most precious resource on Earth in a normal administration, because normally they should be way too busy to ever have time to stop and just talk to a random senator. But Trump never does anything because he doesn't do work.
Yeah,
like that.
I feel like even as a president, like even the sexual aspect of it is like your aides just kind of like bring your wife in, or when we finally get a female president, your husband in, just brings them in kind of like prepared for sex and goes, all right, Mr. or Madam President, you've got 30 minutes, go, we'll be outside the door. And then they just click a timer and they walk out and you've got 30 minutes to do whatever. And then when your 30 minutes is up, it doesn't matter if you're done or not. All right, we got to go. And they come in and take your husband or wife back out of the room, and like tuck your, if you're a guy, tuck your stuff in. If you're a woman, I don't know, put your pantsuit on, and then like wheel you to the next event.
Yes.
Because I imagine all of the real presidency is a lot like West Wing, where they're just like walk and talk, and then they're just handing them babies and like stuff to sign, and they're just like, the Iraqis have said this. Oh no, and then we've got this. Like it should be just like a constant, just like
barrage of these, the toughest questions on Earth, because if anyone else could answer it, it wouldn't have come to your desk, Mr. President.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking exactly.
But the hardest question Trump's ever had to answer during his presidency is, would you like a side order of like mashed potatoes or fries?
Why?
Oh no, they're both potatoes, but like in two
No,
different
don't even.
ways.
You know the answer is going to be fries. That motherfucker doesn't eat mashed potatoes.
That's too close to a real vegetable.
Yeah, it's too close to healthy for that fucking piece of human garbage.
Speaking of human garbage, remember how last week you were talking about Milo? And two things. You were talking about Milo, and you were saying that you're always very prophetic in everything you say. And people say, oh, you're just fear-mongering or you worry too much or whatever.
Yeah.
But you were saying that his statement, what was it? I can't wait for vigil... This is a quote from Milo Yabadabada. He said, I can't wait for the vigilante squads to start gunning journalists down on sight. And you said, he can't say stuff like that. People are actually going to do it. Well, right after that, on Thursday, a mass shooting began, and journalists were gunned down on the site at the Annapolis Gazette.
Did we not cover the shooting in our last podcast?
No, we recorded our last one on Wednesday.
Oh, man, I am more prophetic than I thought I was. Yeah, so the point is, the way crazy people work is they look at really powerful people they really like Milo and the president, and whenever those people say kind of like wink, wink, hey, it's okay to go out and kill these people for me, but
would someone handle the annoying priest?
Yeah. Wait, what?
That's a famous thing. Like some emperor was hounded by a preacher that spoke out against him, and he's like, "Would someone handle the annoying priest?" And then one of the people in the crowd just stabbed him to death and drug his body off. That's
crazy
a
people...
very old classic example
right.
of wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Because crazy people think that you're talking. They're the people that are very unstable, and they can't. Oh, the president was talking directly to me in his post. He's said to be super violent and gun down journalists. You know what I mean? And then they'll go do it.
And right before that happened, again, that same rally that we keep talking about, President Trump said, "The fake news media is not my enemy; it's the enemy of the American people." Sick.
Right. It's the same way that they say that not saluting or respecting Donald J. Trump is un-American. He's not America, man. You hold an office which is at this point dubious, and I don't know if you saw this, but the Republican Senate committee did find that the Russians meddled to help elect him. So the goddamn Republicans are like, yeah, the Russians definitely helped him win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The House Republicans are, for some reason, not quite as despicable as the Senate Republicans are not quite as despicable as the House Republicans. The House Republicans is just a festering swamp of, we got to get rid of these monsters.
Well,
but the Senate's a little bit not as crazy.
So here's some good news, and this is my own, my political prognosticating again, and I see these things, and I go, okay, this is good news for us. All right, so I don't know if you saw it recently. On one of the late-night shows, they did a remake of Shaggy's You Know It Wasn't Me.
No?
You don't remember that song?
Nuh-uh.
It was this great song that came out.
I'm not a big music person.
Came out in 1999, where this guy's basically singing his girlfriend caught him cheating, and the whole song is she caught me banging on the sofa, and Shaggy, the other artist, goes, wasn't me. So it's really funny. This guy's basically going, yeah, but she caught me banging on the counter too, and the Shaggy keeps going, tell her it wasn't you, it wasn't me, and he's like, but she even got me on camera, wasn't me. So what's his name? It's the new late night show. Had a really great version of Shaggy's Wasn't Me, but it was Trump and Mueller.
Trump's not smart enough to stick to that line. It wasn't me, okay, unless it makes me look good. I have the biggest crowd sizes. Have you seen the map of my election, okay? I have a good brain. That's how I'm able to say these words with my mouth, okay? A lot of people don't realize that, but these are my words that I'm saying.
Yeah, so it was what do you call it?
I was trying to do my impression of a rambling Trump speech.
It was it's the Late Late Show with James Corden. So here's why this is a big deal. Because it was really, really funny. It was just him going you working with the Russians? Wasn't me. So it's going through all the stuff. It was really funny. It was really poppy. It was really, really neat. So what I think this means is that if it's gotten to the point now where we are making fun of it on the mom and pop Late Late Show and stuff like that, that means it's real. And
Oh
that's
yeah,
what, huh?
it's a huge part. It's a huge part of America's current public cognition.
Yeah.
Everyone's understanding of the president is that the Russians helped him win. Like everyone's aware of that, even the deplorables. They just like to pretend like they don't know
But
anything.
to see it as a funny thing on late night, which I feel like late night is what like middle America is seeing, right?
Yeah, I have looked at what the underscore Donald on Reddit says about that, and what they say is that it's been 3 years of this Mueller investigation, and they haven't found anything at all, not one thing. It's just a fishing trip by what was it, 9 angry Democrats.
Yeah.
That's their. I mean, they're wrong on so many levels. Like, it hasn't even been 1 year, or I think we just had the 1 year anniversary, but they like to pretend like it's been 2 or 3 years. We've had 19 indictments and 7 arrests, guilty pleas, whatever it's been. It's been a lot. Like, a lot has happened.
So the fact that like that is happening on late night, middle America kind of stuff watching, I think that's in at least so far I haven't been wrong. That means that like the tide of American consciousness has been turning. He is losing support. I don't care what the polls say. That's a big deal, like, because the late night, what do you call it? The late night kind of like caricature of the president is who most of us believe the president is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's why, like, we talked about, like, hey, Bush is really stupid, right? He's the guy from
I'm the
Texas.
decider.
Yeah, I'm the decider, right? That was who we thought Bush was. Clinton was just like, I did not put my... I can't even do a good Clinton right now, but...
Here, people, what I did not do was have sex with that woman.
I did not. I promise you, America, I did not put my penis in that toaster.
They're never going to catch Slick Willie.
Exactly. And that's, boom, that's who we thought, and that's who we believe Clinton was, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, now that, like, this, like, has hit late night where, like, Trump is like, shredding evidence and, like, is colluded with the Russians and is saying it wasn't me, and Mueller's closing in. Now that's who we believe Trump is. And that's a super-duper win, because the whole idea was to, like, just lie about base reality so that, like, people, because it's the only way you could deny things that are that outlandish is, like, make the lie as big as possible and keep saying it and people will buy it.
Yar.
So to me, I know that sounds dumb, but that's a huge win. Because you got to remember, was it before or right after he became president? He went on Jimmy Fallon, and Jimmy, like...
It was before.
Yeah.
It was before.
But so that humanized him. Like, so if you look at...
And, by the way, Fallon has actually apologized for that afterwards.
Yeah.
And anyone listening, just to finish Peter's thought, it was a Trump interview on Fallon in which near the end of it, I think, he, like, reached over and patted Donald Trump on the head just to show everyone, oh, it's real hair.
Mm-hmm.
And that humanized him. That went a long way towards humanizing him.
It just made him look affable and like a real guy.
And after Fallon apologized for ever humanizing this monster, Trump was like, and that's when he attacked me on late night. He really messed up my hair that night. I don't know why. I asked him not to. But if you go back and watch the video, he's full of shit because he was like volunteering his head to Jimmy.
Well, here's the thing: is like, you can't blame Fallon because like he runs a late night show run by a network aimed at like not, politically.
Plus, I mean, a lot of people refuse to believe the hype, right? It's so insane to imagine that everything that is negative that's been said about the guy is true and worse, that such an evil creature could exist, but it's fucking true. It's just the reality of the situation.
Imagine if like Hitler
But on the other hand, Peter, you got to keep in mind Hillary had trouble sorting her emails, so many problems on both sides.
Well, I mean, like, and it's nothing.
So even.
It's nothing for like a presidential candidate to go on late night. That's just he was on SNL like way before that.
He was the first or second. He was the second host that Stephen Colbert ever had on his current late night show.
Like, you could imagine, like, if late night existed when Hitler, like, kind of first started rising to power, like the affable, like, Hitler on, like, Jimmy Fallon, and Jimmy's like, hey, can I touch your mustache? And he's like, oh yes, why sure. Like, because you don't think that, like, a year from now he's going to be like, what was your Hitler impression again?
Das Mutness Tutness Chatten.
Yeah,
I said that wrong, but
you don't see that happening like a year from when you like rubbed his hair and it's like, oh, his cute little mustache. Like, you don't realize that like you're humanizing Hitler, and like it was fucked up, and he shouldn't have done it. Like, he should have like taking a stand because as a comedian, I do believe that like you have a moral responsibility as a comedian, but at the same time, like he can't be held wholly responsible. It was just a kind of a like, ugh, you know?
And people that keep saying you can't call someone Hitler until after they've murdered millions and millions of people. No, we want to stop them from murdering millions and millions of people.
Right.
So you got to look for someone that's doing absolutely everything that Hitler did when rising to power.
Well,
such as delegitimizing entire swaths of your civilization, like saying that all immigrants are illegal, and then like first of all you start blocking more from coming in, you start rounding up the ones that are there, and then you start looking at the ones who are here legally and removing their citizenship. That would be the next step, right? If he did that, then surely people would be willing to admit that, oh, this guy is the next Hitler, and Mexicans are his Jews.
So we haven't even talked about that, but that's what's scary is now.
That's the segue.
Yeah. So yeah, not only are they, we've talked about like they're just grabbing people that are trying for asylum and locking them up. Yeah. Now they're going through
stealing their children.
Yeah, they're going through and they're trying to they're up their denaturalization stuff, which I didn't even realize that you could denaturalize somebody.
I mean, they already sort of started that by fucking over the Dreamers.
Yeah.
Just take a bunch of people that have never been outside of the country and saying, none of you are citizens anymore.
I thought naturalization was like just you're a citizen, like, and a lot of people it's pretty permanent, right? So you can be denaturalized if they find out that you've lied about something big, or like there's something big that like they didn't catch during your naturalization process. But this works its way through courts, right? And the court has to find that like it's a really good reason to denaturalize you and send you back. We already know that like Trump and ICE and the current government are
trying to get around the court system so that they can just skip the inconvenience of having to prove anything.
Yeah, so they don't think that like you should get your day in court. So that's scary, combined with you can basically take people who are citizens, strip them of their citizenship with no court order, and send them back. That's the scary like kind of like fucking like terror water slide that I'm worried about us going down, because I guarantee you if they can make it okay to denaturalize naturalized citizens without a court order and ship them off, then their next step will be to round up political dissidents. I mean, that's how they do it. You attack a vulnerable population, you step it up a little bit, because like, we're American citizens, but if we don't go to court and they want to deport us, who are we going to prove we're fucking citizens to?
Who are we going to prove our citizenship to?
Here's the other thing, and the United States is very guilty of this, and I fucking hate that we do it. So before we were more okay with torture, and we're still kind of like, there's a big portion of us who love Jack Bauer in 24, and you were like, yeah, hell yeah, you should torture some. What if the bomb's gonna go off in like 5 minutes, and you gotta just get tough to find out where the bomb is? You got to shoot an Al Qaeda in his dick. What then?
Hypothetically, if I were Al Qaeda and I had a bomb somewhere and I'm willing to die to make sure it goes off. Let's say it's a nuclear bomb hidden in the city and there's like 5 minutes till it goes off. I know I'm dead anyway. Why would I not just, be able to bite my tongue for 5 minutes and hold out?
Or just give them...
just start telling them anything to send them on a wild goose chase.
Exactly, because that's what torture works. So, besides those people that are kind of okay with torture, there's a lot of us that aren't, and it's challenging stuff that like... And there's even a big thing with the International Court said to the United States, as we were arguing about torture being... our lawyers during the Bush administration are like, well, technically, it's the torture can be used. The International Court goes, hey, man, you can't just decide torture's legal with some lawyer. That doesn't work. It's still illegal and it's still torture. So we were rebuked by the international community. But my point is, one of the ways that we get around this is we just send people to countries that do torture that we're friendly with, and just kind of turn our back, and then they do the torturing for us.
Yeah.
And so if you look at the rabbit hole, we begin deporting people. Now we can deport, once we can get to the point where we can deport anybody, even people born here, or I should say white people born here. All you got to do is send them to a country. You
Where it's
know,
okay to torture people, and suddenly we're just sending Americans off to be tortured.
yeah. Or tortured and or disappeared. It would be the easiest thing in the world. You know what I mean? You send them to some South American country or somewhere where there's no press, and they just never come back.
Yeah, just like arresting a woman for protesting in Florida and no one ever hears from her again.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't need, and there would be no evidence. There's no trail. It's not done in the United States on United States soil. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, he must have met with an accident, and wherever.
They already do that in Russia constantly, and now Trump is having like another secret. Well, it's a publicly known secret meeting with Putin soon, right?
Yeah.
They're just going to meet up somewhere. No reporters, no translators, nothing. Just those two alone in a room for as long as they feel like it.
I kind of
Could you
hope.
imagine Fox News if Obama did that?
I kind of hope that they come out and it's just Putin wearing Trump's hair, and he's just like, yes, I am American president now. First thing, we send all money to Russia. Everyone's like, that's Putin in a wig, right? No, I am Donald J. Trump. Say he's Trump. You just align media. We're like,
You're
dude,
just lying,
we're like,
liberal
dude,
cuts.
Putin just fucking body snatched our fucking president. Seriously, look at him. It's Putin in a wig. That's the next step where Trump just gets to hang out in Russia, or Trump just mysteriously dies and Putin with a wig just runs both countries.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I think I would be more for that because at least Putin's not as dumb as Trump is. So at least someone who's smart's running things?
No, because I don't want
know.
somebody with Putin's agenda running anything.
Well,
Putin,
if you're smart, you
Putin-
could probably see that this is going to end up very badly,
Right.
and so you just wouldn't make
Putin-
things as bad as
Putin-
possible.
But Putin also may have blown up a block of apartment buildings so he could start a war with the Chechens, resulting in thousands of people dying or more, maybe millions at this point.
Speaking of, oh god, I could segue into two different things with that. Let's start with the money bit first, sending all money to Russia. Speaking of sending all money from one place to another, did you know that Trump's inauguration fund collected $500,000 from two private prison companies, which have been used to detain migrant families?
Yeah,
including
I mean,
the
that's part.
3,000
If you look at
kidnapped children.
If you look at anything he does, because here's his thing, he's a rubber stamp for corporate interests. So,
yeah.
one of the biggest corporate private interests is privatizing prisons, and it's been shown to be terrible. It's shown to be awful. Private prisons don't work. They're terrible. They need to go away because having a prison with a balance sheet only encourages more prisoners.
Yeah, it's difficult to do anything about it because it's so easy for people in this world to dismiss someone who's done something wrong. Once someone's done something wrong, people can be like, well, fuck them.
Yeah.
But that's there needs to be more leniency for people who make mistakes so that they can, try and correct it and do better, because we all fucking make mistakes. Just some people make mistakes that are on the books as being particularly bad, and then they are royally fucked for the rest of their lives if they end up in one of these privatized prisons. But two, sometimes they didn't do it. In fact, a lot of the times they didn't do it, and they're genuinely innocent. We have sent a lot of Oh, that's something I've never said on this podcast before that I want to say now. Here's a big revolution that everyone should be aware of. You know how they say that America has never executed an innocent man?
Who said
it's never been proven?
Who said that? That's been proven many times.
No. It has not. On the books, we have never executed a single innocent man.
That's not true
in this
at all.
country, because when someone's executed, their case is closed forever. And even though other people can write all the books about how they're innocent that they want, the official record is and always will be that they were guilty.
That's insane. So you can't even clear their name. That's so fucked up.
You can never clear their name.
That's
It'll always
awful.
be official record that they were guilty. That's the final word on their case.
So I want to start a segment. So you know how you have that's cute news?
Yes. Oh, I have a great one for this week.
I want to start my own segment called what a fun invasion news.
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
So we're gonna invade. Who we're gonna invade next? You're gonna love this because you would have never guessed if I not talked about it earlier. Fucking Venezuela. The South American country that we've never had any problems with. Trump has been trying to get to kind of like he's running it by people like he does when he's not sure that he can just do it. He wants to invade Venezuela because like they're having problems with like the current guy there, Maduro, I believe, is kind of like a dictator, although their last president was kind of like a dictator. They're going through like horrible like hyperinflation, and like the country's kind of collapsing, having a lot of trouble.
Right.
So Trump pondered military intervention. He repeatedly inquired at meetings in the Oval Office whether we could invade the troubled South American nation. Then he discussed the same question with Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos and other regional leaders on multiple occasions. At one point at a dinner with them, his aides go, "Hey, this is a dinner with South American presidents. Just don't talk about invading Venezuela." So the first thing he does at the dinner is he goes, "Hey guys, my aides told me not to talk about this, but do you think we should invade Venezuela?" And
my God.
all the South American presidents were like, "No." And he's like, "Are you sure you're not like thinking like maybe a military option would be cool?" And like everyone was like, "Let me make this very clear. Fuck no." But he's still talking about it. To the point in which I gotta find the exact quote.
Well, he's a child. Mammy, buy me a war with Venezuela.
Yeah.
It's so shiny, and Putin's mom let him have a war with Venezuela.
Well, here's what's
Sad.
scary, but the National Security Council spokesman told the news agency that all options remain open to help the Venezuelan democracy and bring stability. So chances are we're going to invade a very not well understood, hot, jungly country to bring back democracy for people that don't want us there, because that worked real well every other time we've done that.
Yeah, it worked great in Iraq, Afghanistan. Like, look how those wars ended. Oh, yeah, you can't because they haven't ended yet.
Yeah. So let's get us into another. Although, you know what, man? I would love to see this dude get into his own personal Vietnam. Like when deplorable's children start coming home in boxes because they died in the Venezuelan jungles for fucking nothing. Let me see how well you support this fuckwit president then.
Yeah, because it was like
Nothing sinks
like
a president faster than an unpopular, unwinnable war. And that's the thing about war. You can't go like, you know what, we are winning, because people be like, the fuck we are, and we got video to show people dying.
Yeah. Oh my God. The best generation of Americans, the ones that fought in World War II, they the average World War II veteran saw, like, what was it, 10 days of combat? Of
Maybe.
active combat?
Possibly. I thought they saw more.
Do you know how many days the average Vietnam veteran saw of combat?
How many?
If they stayed 1 year, they saw around 365 days of combat.
Well, it's because there was no front line in Vietnam. The war was everywhere. Whereas at least World War II, you go to the front, you come back. That's what. If you go invade Venezuela, there's no front line. You're fighting. You're fighting economic fucking problems. You can't shoot like economic downturn. You can't shoot hyperinflation.
It's just like how you can't shoot terror, right? That's why the war just lasts forever.
Like stupid wars.
But imagine that, but like people can't just attack us from all sides on the desert, because the desert is, big as desert sand, like Trump would say about it. It's very big. It's in the middle of sand, desert sand.
Every time we've gotten into a jungle war, it's gone.
You get into the jungle. Humans can live anywhere in the jungle, so they can surround you anywhere. They can attack.
And
you
air
from
power
anywhere.
doesn't really work because you can't see what you're shooting. Like, jungle's a very difficult place to like get involved into a war, especially a civil war in which you don't understand who you're supporting or who you're fighting. Hence the Vietnam the Ken Burns Vietnam documentary I've been watching for like the last couple days, hyped up on coffee. I feel like I'm right there with McNamara. I'm like, Mr. President, we've got to get out of Vietnam.
Yep. And here you are seeing in the modern days, Trump's about to have his own Vietnam, which he was a draft dodger of, by the way. If anyone's not aware, he dodged the draft.
That's the one thing I've been thinking about that. And you know what? We bash him a lot over that. But I dodged the fucking draft too, man. Like, fuck that. I'm not going to Vietnam.
Sure. But he was also a smarmy shithead about it, right? Like, he made fun of Vietnam War heroes. He's made fun of Gold Star parents.
They
Iraq
did
and
attack
Iran
Bill
war,
Clinton
right?
for being a draft dodger, yet they haven't really hammered on Trump for being a draft dodger.
Right, and he said that John McCain's not a war hero because he was captured.
Right, yeah.
I like heroes who weren't captured. Okay, was his exact quote.
You know, I like people that toughed it out in a prison camp, tortured and stayed behind. Like, because that was the thing about it, was like they were like, the Vietnamese were like, we let you go, and he was like, I'm gonna stay with my friends. Like, dude, that's like, say whatever you will. I don't always agree with McCain, but goddamn, what a man, you know.
Yeah, like,
Look,
if anyone listening here has ever seen McCain in a speech, and you notice he moves his arms kind of funny, like he won't lift them very high, it's because he can't, because he was tortured for 5 years when he was in the prime of his life.
Yeah.
In a cage in Vietnam.
I don't know if it was me and you, if they were like, all right, you're free to go. I don't know if I would like be like,
no, I'd be gone. I'd be like, no, fuck it. I'm out. I'll see you when you get back, Pete.
I don't know if I'd be like, I'm gonna stay with Patrick. I'd be like, you know what? I know we did a lot of podcasts together, but this is real hard. There's a lot of mosquitoes in here. Also, I've been stabbed repeatedly in the dick and balls, and I kind of want to leave.
Yeah, who would have imagined that Trump doing that to their men would make that do it to us? As we're in like the jungles of Venezuela, we're drafted into it.
Well, what I can't wait. I can't wait for this. One of my family members is a naturalized Venezuelan citizen, and my other family members that are related to him are super pro-Trump supporters, and I'm like, it's going to be real weird when that family member goes to a disappearance camp. Just saying.
Goes to a happy fun time camp.
Yeah. So we got about 3 minutes left, so you want to hit us with That's Cute News, and we will wrap up today's podcast?
Yeah. Okay, so you know how I have not wanted to let us forget about Puerto Rico, right? I keep bringing up that the people over there are still dying. The death toll is going up staggeringly, so they still don't have steady power. Well, guess what they have now?
Sky sharks.
At least they're no longer losing stuff, right? Like, they've been losing power, they've been losing water, they've been losing lives, but now they finally have gained something.
What's that?
A very serious outbreak of leprosy.
Oh my God! Like, how does that happen?
Like the plague. Because they're in absolutely deplorable living conditions, right? And nobody's doing anything to help them, and they're just fucked from all angles.
Okay,
so,
I've said
our president
before.
will not declare it a disaster zone, no one will go to relieve them.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. And this might count as this may count as a threat against a sitting official. I'll try to make it as little threatening as possible. In a world in which I was a leper, I'm going to a place. I won't specify where, but it's a place, and I'm giving out hugs and handshakes, baby. I'm giving out hugs and handshakes.
Yeah, because I mean, Trump's inactions are. His inaction is directly causing these people
because
to
you
suffer
know if he
and
got
die
leprosy, he wouldn't go to the doctor. You know that, right?
Trump?
Yeah.
What do you think he would do?
I feel like he would just let it eat him and just deny that he had leprosy. Like he's on TV giving a speech and his fucking nose falls off, and he's like, "My nose didn't fall off. Your nose fell off."
It's the fake media lying about it, okay? You know, my hands didn't just fall off. Why isn't the media talking about my hands not falling off? Why do they have to focus on my nose, which didn't fall off, okay? Many people are saying.
And that's the thing that's upsetting about Puerto Rico is there's so many disasters. It's like, yeah, you put out all the house fires. Like, we got to start somewhere, I guess, and start, like, we got to start voting, I guess. We got to vote, or if you got leprosy, go shake hands. That's all I'm saying. Like, I might get visited.
Knock on a few doors.
I might get visited by the Secret Service for this one, but like, I'm just saying, if you got leprosy, get you a plane ticket, go to the District of Columbia and just start shaking hands. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, District of somewhere. We won't say where.
Yeah, District of somewhere. God, we're gonna get disappeared for this one. They're gonna denaturalize both of us.
Yep, and then whenever we're in the prison camps in Venezuela, we'll have to make that decision. Do we stick around for one another, or do like McCain would, or are we like, you know what, we would just get made fun of by America's next Trump if we get out of here. So
yeah, I just imagine sitting around in a Venezuelan prison camp going, well, goddamn, I believe I got leprosy. Holy shit. Well, that's our fucking podcast for this week, man. I'm Pete.
And I'm Pat.
And, I don't know, man. Keep your powder dry.